It's all about the detail. This is actually a piece of 3x2, which when you carve it and sand it, it looks natural. Cheap piece of 3x2, looking good. Alright then. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am making this video to give you a little insight into the coming months and the things that I actually want to do with the cottage via looking at the camper. I built this, it's a 2005 Sprinter, but it was an executive coach, and I built this for when I was racing the mountain bikes. It's very specific to my needs, but one thing I wanted to do, and I had this vision for a long time, a little bit like the cottage, is to create a log cabin on wheels. Unfortunately, it's looking a little bit worse for wear on the outside. I bought a cottage and that became the priority. However, it's a right-hand sliding door, which is a little bit unusual. Oozing with a lot of custom parts and things that I've handmade myself and things that are sentimental to me, I figured that a lot of people might be interested in what I actually built. So I'll give you a bit more of an in-depth talk through what everything actually is inside. So at the entrance we've got a nice piece of oak, which is a nice dominant feature. Was given to me by a friend. The Duck U is a bit of a play on my surname, which is Duckworth. I've got an axe underneath, which I do use for splitting a lot of the wood that I use in the log burner, but that was actually my great grand's, so that's kind of a sentimental piece. I just cleaned that up and I burnt it to match the flooring and the worktops. I've got a bit of a Hessian sack here, which doubles up as a shoe rack. Obviously shoes and other bits, the dog leads, things like that all get thrown on there. The rug is actually doubled up, and it's a Scottish woolen rug, which is incredible for insulation between the back area that usually is warm and the front half, which obviously is the cab. Moving inside, this was a brand new piece of worktop that I managed to age. I actually got it and I threw it out of its packaging onto a broken concrete floor, jumped up and down on it to leave a lot of these little indentations and marks, which are all obviously random. I've then cut the edge with, I think it was a couple of axes I used, and sanded down so it gave a natural feel. So obviously not a live edge, but it gives you the impression that it is. The piece that was split off that I've actually used up top for the overhead storage, which again is just sanded down nicely so it gives a lot of contours. I spent a lot of time with the detail in here, and there's little things like that which are just very time consuming to make, but I have this obsession with things like that, which I just find really nice. The curtains were actually the ones out of my house, and just basically cut them down to fit in here, which was great. I've got a normal couple of hobs there, sink, but the sink has actually got a copper pipe. I've added a brass stop tap in there as well, so that obviously controls the flow of it, but the actual on off, I made my own switch. So piece of brass, stamped a couple of letters in there, and there we go. Just underneath the overhead storage is a magnet strip, which I use as a knife rack, and it was just a cheap one from Aldi or wherever I actually got that, and I stuck a piece of map over the top of it. So that's where the knives sit. Got a couple of jam jars in there hanging from the top. The mirror is supported by a piece of 3x2 that I cut down. Nice knot in there just to give it a bit of texture. There's a thermometer in the clock. That was the main purpose of that, but I like the aesthetic. We've got the overhead storage, and I've got the bench, which actually drops down. This is scrap steel, which welded together to create the leg, and that's held up by a spanner. That drops down like so. Two people can sit at that. I use it a lot of the time for actually, while I'm out on the bike, I'll be editing videos, etc. The overhead storage just has basics in there, a couple of my glasses, goggles, there's actually a cushion, dog leads, towels, things like that. The lighting above is not too intensely bright, but on a dark night it's absolutely adequate. That's used out of a nice split piece of wood. And moving around, I've actually got an eye into the top of the door frame here, which I can hang a hammock off onto a tree, and I'll insert a picture of that from a while back. So I tied a bit of paracord together to make a washing line that is sitting above the Outbacker stove. Now this stove has a small fire area and a oven the size that you can get a 9-inch pizza. That's the easiest way of explaining how big that is. So a 9-inch pizza gets in there. It comes with bacon tray and a grill. Probably something the petrol heads might appreciate. Pair of snap-on spanners. There's a poker. Above the stove I've also got a drying basket that I fit in there, which I can put my shoes in and helmet. Next to it I have the flue extension, so when I do want to light the fire I put that on. It's maybe another 3 feet long, so it gives a lot better draw out of the top. Underneath the worktop there is clearly a fridge. I've also got a cupboard to the side. I have the electronics hidden away in here, and a couple of boxes which I actually keep my clothes in and things. Underneath there's actually the night heater. That's what the little wooden vent is for, so the heat comes out of those two. I've also got, that is the shower cubicle, and I've also got a toilet inside there, and the bed is up top. Now above the bed the mountain bike essential grip there as a gear knob. That's about all that's changed in the front. The obligatory GoPro mount, obviously got a zippy there, carpeted A pillars, B pillars, carpeted ceiling, and bulkhead. Obligatory seat covers in tartan, and a cover for Tani, because Tani jumps in the front, she's always dirty. When I built this, I actually had to put an entire new interior in it, because it was actually like bubble coloured looking seats, and it was out of a bus. So yeah, it actually had full new interior, floor. I actually replaced all the dash panels as well. You know, it didn't actually have a seat in the passenger side. There was literally nothing there, because that was the entrance, and I had to obviously acquire all the different bits and pieces. So instead of just acquiring bits and pieces, I ended up with an entire interior, so that was cool. Being an executive coach, this is actually slightly different to most sprinters you see on the road, and the reason why I picked it is because of the tailgate on the back. Inside here, it's where I created my big and oversized garage. So it houses a couple of mountain bikes, and I can put all my race kit in there, as well as the paddleboard and other outdoor activities. On a big pull-out, effectively baking tray. So a big aluminium tray on runners, so if I'm washing the bike and I put the bike back in dirty, everything holds onto the tray. Built with off-grid living in mind, I have 2 big water tanks, one on either side. I also have 2 truck batteries. Further forward on the roof is a 500-watt solar panel. I've also got an inverter, which is only 1,000 watt, but everything is 12 volts inside. I've got the usual obligatory things and a refillable gas tank. Obviously the essential jet wash and tools and other necessary items within the garage. So I'm hoping this gives you a bit of an insight. The custom made bits and pieces that I've put in here, so what I consider more artwork in some instances, as to what I've actually created and built. I am kind of proud of obviously what I've managed to build, and this is actually now, it's 21 I built it, so it's getting on towards the 5-year mark, and for the 3 months in between houses I was pretty much living in here full time, and it's still pretty much like the day that I built it, and it's been fantastic and worth every hour I spent sanding the wood, creating bits and pieces. Yeah, the difference I suppose with the cottage in what I want to do is that things are a little bit grander in scale, but at the same time everything is very similar. The plumbing and electrics are very similar. The woodwork that I intend to do is going to be very similar, but on a bigger scale. It's things like windowsills and obviously skirting boards, or the games room where I'm creating basically a miniature pub. The idea with things like the log burner is that I have a log burner similar to this in the actual corner, maybe a little bit bigger but without the oven. That will actually create quite a lot of heat with very little wood, and they are incredible. And for a few £100, this one's been in here 5 years and it's been absolutely amazing. When it's -2 outside, it can be 25 degrees in here with the roof light open, and you're just basically burning kindling. So to me, it was worth its weight in gold. Back really on key with the cottage renovation. Things will be hopefully now really stepping up a gear. I've got a lot of deliveries coming, and this is just really a kind of a filler of a video. If you aren't up to speed with the cottage renovation, then give the other video a look. I'll put a link in the description. So in the next episode of the cottage renovation, I shall be showing all the progress with the living room. The granite wall will be exposed. The radiators that have turned up, I'm expecting one more with that video. I will also have the flooring somewhere certainly changed, if not completed, and with the plasterboard of 28 sheets of insulated plasterboard will be here. So there's hopefully going to be a lot of progress for the next video on the cottage, and I shall see you all there. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I do like a piece of live edge.